You guys who've been following the channel, you're sure to be familiar with Sheila by now. So Sheila's our dog that we got in May. She was born in March of 2017, and we have never really known what kind of a dog she is. So we know she's part cattle dog because we met the mother, but even the mother was a mixed breed, and we're not exactly sure what she was. So based on these pictures, I'm wondering what you guys think she is. So obvious guesses might be German Shepherd, Australian Cattle Dog, Labrador Retriever, who knows, right? Well, for Christmas this year, she was given a DNA test and we got the results back, and I thought I'd share them with you guys today. So around Thanksgiving, my wife took a couple swabs to Sheila's cheek to get a DNA sample, sent it off to Wisdom Panel, and about 3 weeks later, she got an email saying the results were ready, and I'm just going to go through those results with you now. At the beginning, they show us Sheila's unique genetic signature, which is just a segment of her code that's unique to her, and they use as a tag during their processing. So let's just jump right into the ancestry. So this is where it gets interesting. We thought that she was 25% Australian Cattle Dog, 75% Labrador Retriever, but she is way more of a mutt than we realized. So not only is she ACD, but she also has Standard Bulldog, Collie, Great Dane, St. Bernard, Siberian Husky, and mixed breed groups all in the mix there. So if we go to next, we can see the ancestry tree, which shows Sheila up here. These are the parents, these are the grandparents, these are the great-grandparents. So let's just start at the great-grandparent level. Out of 8 great-grandparents, 7 of them represent different breeds or mixed breeds. That's a pretty diverse sample, pretty incredible. And so if we look at the maternal side here, it's an Australian Cattle Dog mixed with a UK Bulldog Show Dog and some mixed breed. And then on the other side, it's a combination of Collie, Great Dane, St. Bernard, and Siberian Husky. So pretty insanely diverse sampling there. So next we go through each of those individual breeds that compose Sheila, and they give you a useful little description of their physical characteristics and their temperamental characteristics, and a lot of them make good sense for Sheila. So Australian Cattle Dog's pretty obvious that she's energetic, she's active, she's very smart, and she looks a lot like a regular Australian Cattle Dog. The Bulldog, however, I would not have guessed this one. I see very little in common, in appearance. But I suppose if you look temperamentally, she is friendly, she is playful, and she is calm relative to an Australian Cattle Dog. So it's possible. I won't rule it out. Collie seems a little bit more intuitive to me. She does have that double coat, similar mottled coloration to some of these dogs, and she is very intelligent, she's obedient, she's active. So temperamentally it makes a lot of sense. Great Dane. I actually always had Great Danes growing up, so it was funny to see this. Big surprise to me. For one, Sheila's relatively small. She's medium size, I guess. She's about 54 pounds, which is way smaller than you'd expect from a dog that's part Great Dane. But then also just temperamentally, I'm used to Great Danes being extremely calm, not very high drive. So that could just be a biased sample that I grew up with, but it doesn't seem to match very well with Sheila. St. Bernards, more or less the same thing, although I think St. Bernards tend to be a little bit harder working, or at least my biased subsample have been harder working. And then also the mottled coloration, especially those cookies and cream muzzle colorations, match up pretty nicely. So this one seems a little less out of the blue. And then Siberian Husky, which I hadn't guessed, but I could see it making sense. Similar size to Sheila, similar overall build, got the same perky ears, that long muzzle. So, I wouldn't have guessed it, but it doesn't seem unbelievable. And then a mixed component, which represents the last 12.5%. So these are ranked by their relative probability. So they think it's most likely that mixed breed is partially sporting group, then slightly less likely to be hound group, and slightly less likely to be herding group. So we don't actually have a lot of information on what this 12.5% is composed of. So lastly, they break it up by region. So they have specific evidence for an Asian component in the Siberian Husky, specific evidence for a guard dog in the Bulldog and Great Dane, specific evidence for herding in the Australian Cattle Dog and Collie, but also trace evidence as possibly being part of that mixed breed dog. The Hound could possibly be part of the mixed breed dog. Mountain Dog, specific evidence for St. Bernard. And then sporting, trace evidence was found. So no specific breed singled out, but it's possible they contributed to that mixed breed dog. So next they show us the certificate, which is nice. Just goes over everything we talked about already. So lastly, they do some health testing. And so this is primarily focused on the multi-drug sensitivity and adult weight. So let's do the multi-drug sensitivity now. So they test for mutation in MDR1, and a mutation in this gene, you only need one, so you have 2 copies of it. It's dominant, which means that 1 copy makes you symptomatic, and if you're symptomatic, then you're potentially susceptible to adverse reactions to a lot of common drugs. So luckily she tested normal, so I don't have to worry about that. It's good to know. And then finally they do a test for adult weight. So based on the average weight of purebred dogs and certain mixed bred dogs of known genetic composition, they run an algorithm that predicts the adult weight of your dog. So they predict between 60 and 96 pounds. Sheila's on the lower end of that. She's only 54 pounds now at 11 months. So it's likely that she's going to put on a couple more pounds, but it's unlikely she's going to get into that weight range. However, she did not have optimal growth during her first year, so we got her as part of an unwanted litter from a farm when she was 9 weeks old, and she had an extremely high parasite load, so she was loaded with fleas, loaded with ticks. She had at least 40 ticks on her when we got her. I mean, just covered in engorged ticks, and so I imagine that was, negatively impacting her early life growth. And then after that, she had a temperamental appetite for quite some time, for months, I would say, where she would eat occasionally, but she would rarely eat the recommended amount of food, and she would sometimes go days without eating. So between those 2 factors, it makes a lot of sense that she would wind up being a little bit lighter than her genetic potential. So there you have it, guys. She's part Australian Cattle Dog, part Standard Bulldog, mixed breed, Collie, Siberian Husky, Great Dane, and St. Bernard. I gotta say, I would not have guessed those coming into it, but now that I'm hearing it, I think I can see bits of her temperament and appearance that could have come from those different breeds. What do you guys think? Are you surprised? Do these make sense? You think the test is bunk? Let me know in the comments. That's all I got for you guys. Check the links in the description. Thanks for watching. Bye.